Could it be? But me, your man, Louie Tee, welcome to the 2018 preview and predictions series, breaking down each and every division in the National Football League. We've knocked down 4 divisions already, both East divisions, both South divisions. Now we're going to tackle the North divisions tonight, starting with the NFC North. And then later on tonight, we'll go and take a look at the AFC North. But let's talk about the NFC North division. I, of course, am your man, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me. Let me get all those pleasantries out of the way. Let's talk about this North division, though. I'm excited about this division because this is a very competitive division. One of those divisions that 3 teams have a legitimate shot at winning the division. I think a lot of people feel like it's really a 2-team race, and I tend to side with that. But nonetheless, think that you could throw Detroit in there as well. You never know what Detroit team is actually going to show up. I think they've had one of the worst preseasons of any team this year, but notwithstanding, it's the preseason. So you don't want to put too much stock into what you've seen in the preseason. They've got a new head coach, a lot of different moving parts. Always interesting to see a new dynamic underway with a veteran football team like the Detroit Lions. It's all good when it's new, like Chicago, where everybody's brand new. Everything is new, except for Vic Fangio. Everything is brand new in Chicago. And so there's an excitement and very low expectations. So the bar is going to be raised in Chicago. Obviously, you can't get much lower than what they've been over the last couple of years under John Fox. So that's all great. But when it's a veteran team like in Detroit and you're making a move to switch out a coach that was well-liked in the locker room. This team was 9-7 last year. And all of a sudden you bring in a new head coach and a different philosophy. No more Terrell Austin as a defensive coordinator. He's moved on. There's a lot of questions to be answered in Detroit. Meanwhile, Green Bay getting back the bad man, Aaron Rodgers, A-Rod back in the saddle after missing a ton of games last year with that collarbone injury. And so looking forward to seeing A-Rod back in the saddle in Green Bay. Looking forward to seeing Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. They've won the division now 2 straight years. And you know what's funny is I've heard this a couple of times. I'm actually starting to buy this a little bit. Are the Minnesota Vikings being overhyped in this division? I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to talk about that tonight and so many other topics as we delve into the NFC North. Let me go ahead, set the tables. You already have your utensils, okay? I see you guys are already filling up the chat discussion on YouTube. That is great. I love when you guys talk it up amongst yourselves. So you've already got your working utensils. I'll just go ahead and set the table for you, and then we'll get started. There are 3 ways to communicate with this particular show. There is the phone lines, which we will open up a little bit later on. That is first in the pecking order. You want to jump the front of the line and get your comment out there. Call in when the number is given out. Also, you have Twitter. That is second in the pecking order. Use the hashtag #LabRoomFam, as you can see up above. There is the Twitter handle. There is the hashtag. Hit me up on Twitter if you want to jump in front of the YouTube chat discussion population. And then finally, the lower rung, which is where if you're comfortable, you stay there. That's all fine and dandy. Have no problems with that. We'll get to your comment if there is enough time. The YouTube chat discussion, simply use the hashtag Louie Tee Live to have your comment read there. So without any further ado, let's get to these schedules and talk about these teams. As we customarily do here on the Louie Tee Network, we talk about winners and let the losers worry about losing. So all we do is we worry about the winners. And so we start with the team that won this division last year and the year before that, the Minnesota Vikings. Let's talk about the Vikings and what they have to do to potentially repeat as NFC North champions. Let's take a look at their 2018 schedule. So, Vikings, for me, I'm fascinated with this team because there's such great expectations with the addition of Kirk Cousins. You look at that football team and what they were able to accomplish last year with Case Keenum, it was just remarkable. And you look at this team, I think they've got a little extra added motivation and losing their offensive line coach, Tony Sperano, before the season. I think that gives them an extra chip on their shoulder to go out and perform. Not that they needed it, but always nice to have a little extra fuel in the tank. And that was a sad situation, but I think they can turn it into a positive if they can win ball games in 2018. Let's take a look at this schedule, though. I look at this schedule, and I like to break schedules down into quarters. You know, first quarter, the first 4 weeks. You know, second quarter, the second 4 weeks, up to week 8, so forth and so forth. But you look at the Vikings, week 1, home for San Francisco. The Jimmy G hype is real, but it's not going to get off on the road in Minnesota week 1. So I've got the Vikings taking care of business versus the 49ers in week number 1. Week 2, you're at Green Bay. And the beauty of, and I liken Minnesota to Jacksonville in the sense that Jacksonville is the same team they were last year. The only difference between their record last year and this year's record is that Andrew Luck is back. You don't sweep the Colts because Andrew Luck is back. The Colts get to take one. So instead of being 10-6, you're 9-7. And that's how I view the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings got fat off of this division last year because there was no Aaron Rodgers, so they got to sweep the Packers. And if not for a Dalvin Cook injury, they probably beat the Lions at home as well and win all 6 of their divisional games. Nonetheless, the Bears are more competitive this year, so that's not an automatic sweep. The Packers are going to have Aaron Rodgers. That's no longer a sweep there as well. And so you're going to feel the wrath of this division being a lot tougher than it was a season ago. And I said all of that to say this. You're not beating Green Bay in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Take an L there. And so they're 1-1 on the season. You bounce back the following week home against Buffalo. And you actually go and do something that you did last year, and that's beat the Rams. This time you're going to have to go and do it in L.A., but I don't think you care whether it's in L.A. or Minnesota. Your performance versus the Rams last year might have been the most dominating performance of the season against a good football team. Rarely do you see 2 good teams face off and one get their brains bashed in the way the Rams did in Minnesota last year. The Rams probably have a little bit of revenge on their mind, but this is the type of defense that's going to continue to give guys like Jared Goff problems, and the Vikings can stop the run, and if you can stop Todd Gurley, you can really hinder that Rams offense. I've got you going to Arizona on a Thursday night, on the road nonetheless, and winning versus a very good Rams football team. At Philadelphia the following week, I do not see you going to Philly, however. That's returning to the scene of the crime. You were absolutely sodomized last year in Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game. You might actually find a broom splinter still broken off in your anus. Might want to reach in there, grab that out while you're there. I don't like this spot for you. You go back there looking for revenge, and revenge is a dish best served cold. And I just don't know if this Vikings team is cold-blooded enough to deliver that to a team that will definitely have Carson Wentz back by week number 5. You're on the road against the Super Bowl defending champions. I don't see you getting that W. The following 4 weeks, however, you get hot right before your bye. You win versus the Arizona Cardinals at home. You get the Jets on the road. That's a win. You're home for New Orleans on Sunday Night Football, another team that you were able to beat last year. Actually beat the Saints twice, if I'm not mistaken, once in the regular season and in the postseason. Even if you didn't beat them in the regular season, you beat them in the postseason in what was dubbed the Minneapolis Miracle. They're going to come looking for revenge. It's not going to be a good situation for them. I expect you to take care of business. Of course, that will be the storyline that will highlight that game is the Minneapolis Miracle. They'll show it a million times leading up to the game. That's all the Saints will hear about. They're going to be pretty pissed. You've got to extinguish that fire that they're going to have coming into Minnesota on a Sunday night. I fully expect you to do so. Take that dub there, and then you go and you have another home contest, this time in the division, family business versus the Detroit Lions, in which you take care of business. Unlike last year where Dalvin Cook tore his ACL and fumbled the football, and you end up losing that football game, you're going to win this game at home, which puts you at 7-2 going into your bye week. So 4 straight wins going into your bye really puts you in a great spot to try to repeat as NFC North champs as we come off the bye. And looky here. Look what we have. We got the Chicago Bears in Chicago. In past years, you just gloss over this and say, yep, this is a dub. But I really like what the Bears are doing, and I love what Matt Nagy is bringing to that offense. I think they've got a chance to not only make this a competitive football game, I think the Bears are going to win. And remember, Mr. Trubisky's very first start on Monday Night Football versus the same Vikings team last year easily could have been a win. They were in that game, probably should have won that game. They didn't. I think they're going to win this time around in Chicago. I'm giving the Bears the nod there. Then you go the following week, more family business. So 3 straight games in the division if you go back before the bye when you had to defeat the Detroit Lions at home. You lose to Chicago, but then you go home for Green Bay the following week on Sunday Night Football, and you're going to take care of business. No season sweeps here for the Green Bay Packers as you protect home with the dub there. The following week, you go on the road. 2 straight tough road contests. This is going to show us what this team is really made of. At New England and then at Seattle on Monday Night Football. So 2 really tough road games for the Minnesota Vikings. I think you split those road games. Lose to the New England Patriots on the road, but beat Seattle in Seattle on Monday night. Seattle isn't what it once was, and CenturyLink Field isn't what it once was. And so the nostalgia of going to Seattle on a Monday night, which used to seem impossible to come out with a W, not so much. Got the Seahawks taking an L there at the hands of this Vikings football team. And then, excuse me, I take that back, sorry. I think that's a winnable football game, but Seattle at home on Monday night is still impossible. So I take that back. That's still one of those tough places to play on primetime television, period. I don't give a damn if it's Thursdays, Sundays, or Mondays. You go to Seattle, you probably not going to win that game on the road on primetime. And so I've got you losing both of those tough roadies there. But you finish up the season strong with 3 straight wins versus Miami at home, Detroit on the road, and Chicago at home to finish up. So 2 out of your final 3 contests at home. Get you some nice home cooking there. And just a little side note, you sweep the Detroit Lions in 2018. A little bit of get back for your only loss in the division last year. You're going to get them back in style by sweeping the Detroit Lions. So I said all of that to say this. The Minnesota Vikings will finish with a mark of 11-5. So let's get to the screen and fill in the 11-5 for the Minnesota Vikings. So we'll get to the next team up. And that's the Detroit Lions, who finished 9-7 in this division last year. And there's a lot of optimism in Detroit. New coach, new head coach there, and new running back. The prevailing thought is, hey, you get a run game to help out Matthew Stafford, and all of a sudden things start to fit into place. Matt Patricia is the new head coach there, and he's bringing that whole New England Patriot mindset, you know. And so they've got LeGarrette Blount, they've got Kerryon Johnson, they've got some guys that they think they can run the football with, but I'm still not sold on this Detroit Lions defense, however. And the offense, contrary to popular belief, didn't look great this preseason. I don't want to put too much stock into what I saw in the preseason because it is, however, the preseason. But nonetheless, let's jump into the schedule. Monday Night Football, the first of the 2 games on the doubleheader schedule. They're home for the Jets. I expect them to take care of business there, get off to a 1-0 start on the season. But then you run into some trouble the next 3 weeks. At San Francisco, home for New England on Sunday Night Football, and at Dallas on the road. So At San Francisco, like I mentioned before, the Jimmy G hype is real. I'm a huge fan of Kyle Shanahan's. I think he is one of the best offensive minds in all of football. Jimmy G looks sharp. If you haven't watched him this preseason, they haven't scored a ton of points, but they've got something going out there. Jimmy G looks very fluid in that offense. They've got some weaponry. Guys are getting healthy. I expect Jimmy G and company to get it going against this Lions team and win that football game after losing week 1 to Minnesota. I expect San Francisco to bounce back at home against Detroit the following week. So that's a loss for the Lions. For some reason, on primetime television at home, Detroit is horrible. I can remember a ton of games, them being at home. I remember the win and you win the division game against Green Bay 2 years ago. Or win and you get a playoff. I think it was win and when you win the division, or win and you get into playoffs. Whatever the case may be, I think both teams were going to get in regardless, but it was all about seeding or something to that effect. You lost that game against Green Bay, whatever it was. I remember Pittsburgh coming into your building and beating you up pretty good. It wasn't a blowout per se, but nonetheless, you didn't take care of business. The Lions at home on primetime television, usually not a good recipe. And then to make matters worse, it's against New England. I'm going to take the Patriots coming into your building and handing you an L. And then at Dallas, we all remember the last time you went to Dallas. Boy, was that ugly. You haven't had a lot of success there. And I also think about the playoff game. You got jerked. Brandon Pettigrew was interfered with, and they picked up the flag. You got jerked around in that game, but nonetheless, you still lost that game, and then you got your ass handed to you late in the season in 2016. Nonetheless, you're not going to go to Dallas and win. So that's 3 straight losses after winning week 1 versus the Jets. But you do salvage a little bit of the first portion of the season before your bye by beating Green Bay at home, something you don't do very well. As a matter of fact, you don't beat Aaron Rodgers at all. Home, away, it really doesn't matter. You were one of those teams, I believe you had a 25-year losing streak in Lambeau at one point against the Packers. I think it was like 1991 since you had won. You snapped that about 2 or 3 years ago. But you struggled against Aaron Rodgers. You're going to struggle here, or you're going to struggle against them later on in the season at Lambeau, but you're going to beat them at home in 2018, which gives you a mark of 2-3 at the bye week. You come off the bye, you're at Miami. That's a game that you should win, but you don't, so you drop to 2-4. But you bounce back at home versus Seattle, and you win that game. Then you run into Minnesota on the road, and you lose that game. You then beat Chicago on the road. You come back, you lose to Carolina at home. They beat you at home last year. They're looking to do it again. Then you win against Chicago at home, so you sweep the season series with the Bears. Then you lose at home to the Rams, and then you win the next 2 games at Arizona and at Buffalo to give yourself a chance late in the season to maybe make a push for the playoffs, but then you lose the final 2 games of the season versus Minnesota at home, who sweeps you, and at Green Bay, which is a tough way to finish up. If you're looking to get in late, you better do your work early, because at Green Bay week 17, if they need it and you need it, that's a tough place for you to go and get a W if Aaron Rodgers is healthy. So I said all of that to say this. I don't see this as a great season for the Lions. I'm not a huge fan of, moving on from a coach that took you to 9-7. But, I mean, look, bottom line is you felt like you needed to switch it up, felt like a change needed to be made. I don't have a problem with that. But you're going to take a step back before you take a step forward. So let's fill in the Lions. I've got the Detroit Lions going 7-9 in 2018 with a divisional mark of 3-3. So let's go to the next schedule, and that is of the Green Bay Packers. And you know how I do. Every single year, I fall for the trap of the Green Bay Packers. They put that cheese in the trap every year, and like a dummy, I go and I get caught in the trap every year. I'm not doing that this year. There were past years where I've got the Packers going 14-2, 13-3. I'm not doing that this year. We're not going to do that with the Packers this year. We're going to be level-headed. We're going to think rationally, and we're going to make sure that we understand that the Packers are mortals, okay? They're not this crazy great team that is going to be so tough to beat. Look, Aaron Rodgers changes things in Green Bay, no doubt about that, but there's still a bunch of questions about this defense. Can they get pressure on the quarterback? How good are these young corners? Is the secondary together or not? Offensively, who is Aaron Rodgers throwing the football to? Can they run the football consistently? How's the offensive line going to be? So many questions, not a ton of answers, but the one guy, I call him the equalizer, flattens all of that out. You guessed it, the bad man, Aaron Rodgers. And so let's take a look at this schedule for the Green Bay Packers. Home for Chicago, Sunday Night Football. It's going to be tough, not going to be easy. Matt Nagy's going to come out, have these boys ready to play. But it's still Aaron Rodgers. It's still the Chicago Bears. They don't beat the Packers at home very often. I don't think they've done it since that one game they won against the Packers on a Thanksgiving when Brett Favre, I believe, was getting his jersey retired. That was a really somber Thanksgiving game. It was wet. It was nasty, and the Bears went in there, and they upset the Green Bay Packers. They don't win there very often, though. They're not going to win there this year either. The following week, Minnesota at home. So you start off with 2 games in the division right off the bat at the crib, and you got to get them, and you do, getting Minnesota the following week as well. Then you go on the road for your first road game of the season at Washington, a place that the Packers have struggled of late at. 2016, lost on Sunday night. In the Super Bowl season when the Packers were there, Aaron Rodgers sustained a concussion, lost in overtime to the Redskins. They would eventually go on to win the Super Bowl that year. But the Packers have struggled at FedEx Field. The Packers do the Redskins in Green Bay. But in FedEx, they've had success versus Aaron Rodgers and this Packers football team. And I expect that to continue. So the Packers go on the road and lose that game. The following week, though, they come back home. They get Buffalo, take care of business. So your first 3 out of 4 games at the crib. So you're getting some home cooking early. Got to take full advantage, and I expect them to do exactly that. The following week, you go on the road at Detroit. I don't see the Lions allowing you to come into their building and win yet again. I'm giving you a loss there. But then the following week, you come back home. Jimmy G and company coming to Lambeau, and you take care of the San Francisco 49ers as you head into your Week 7 bye at 4-2 on the season. You come out of the bye, and it's a little bit of a rough patch there. Some tough games on the road. You had all that home cooking early. Now you have to feel the effects of going on the road 2 straight weeks against tough opponents. At L.A. for the Rams, at New England the week after that. 2 toughies in a row. And I think you're the second team in the division to have to play those 2 teams back-to-back that way. No, you're not. You're the only team that plays them back-to-back that way. That's rough. Okay, Rams and then New England back-to-back weeks, both of them losses for this Packers football team. And so you go back home after those 2 tough road losses, and you start another little winning streak of your own, 2 in a row. This time, home for Miami, take care of business there. On the road against Seattle, you take care of business there as well. And then you run into Minnesota for the second time this season. Unlike the first time where the result was a dub at the crib, this time it's an L in Minnesota as you stop your 2-game win streak there. But after that loss in week number 12 to Minnesota, the Packers don't lose another game the rest of the season. They win home at Minnesota. They win versus Atlanta at home as well. They go on the road, beat Chicago for the season sweep. They beat the Jets on the road as well. And then they finish up at home versus Detroit where they take care of business. And so needing to get hot, the Packers do exactly that. After being 6-5 after 12 weeks of football, the Packers get hot and get up to 11-5. So let's put the Packers and their 11-5 into the books. And it's amazing. Now, I tried to determine who's going to win the division. And I can't tell you who's going to win the division right now because it's going to have to come down to points scored because both teams split the season series. Both teams went 4-2 in the division. Both teams won the same amount of games in the conference. Both teams have the same exact record versus identical opponents. So common opponents, they both have the same record. And so it's going to come down to points scored for these two teams as to who's going to win the division. So we won't know that, obviously, until we get into the season as we jump into the Bears. Now, the Bears are going to be much improved. They're going to be a lot more competitive, but it won't necessarily show up in the left-hand column this year. Remember, they went 5-11 with all of the nonsense of John Fox wanting, people wanting John Fox, fans wanting John Fox fired. They still went 5-11 and won some tough games. They beat Pittsburgh at home early in the season. They went to Cincinnati and ran all over the Bengals. They had some impressive wins last season, and they went 5-11. And they're not going to be much better than that this year, but they're going to be a very competitive football team, one that scares the hell out of teams, but there's a difference between scaring the hell out of teams and actually winning those close games. The Bears are going to be in that scaring the hell out of teams phase this year. They're going to be in a bunch of games close late, but they don't know how to win. Young football team, they've got to take their lumps. So at Green Bay, Sunday Night Football, week 1, lost, as we talked about already. You're on Monday Night Football the following week for the Seattle Seahawks. That's a win at home. And it's amazing because you look at the Green Bay Packers, and I want to go back to the Packers real quick. You can tell the teams that the NFL believes in. I've told you this by the number of primetime games that you have. The Vikings have 5 primetime games. 4 primetime games, actually. The Lions have 2 primetime games. The Packers have 1. And it's not because they don't believe in Aaron Rodgers. They just don't want to have another situation like last year on Saturday, late in the season, where you've got the ex-UCLA quarterback, Brett Hundley, in, and they can't score a single point versus the Minnesota Vikings, and people are turning the game off because it's boring and they know the outcome already. They don't want to fall victim to that, so they're not putting the Packers on. They're on Sunday Night Football week 1. They're not on primetime television another time the rest of the season. Now, I will tell you this. They're going to get flexed into some situations, all the Packers. But if you look at the Bears are on 3 times. So just know this. The NFL thinks that the Bears are going to be an exciting team this year. And the first 2 weeks of the season, they're on primetime television. They split those games, lost at Green Bay, home for Seattle. They get the W there. They follow that up with 2 more wins. At Arizona, they go in the desert and win. And then they come home for Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston's first game back, rude awakening for him. You win that game. You go into your bye week, and this is when the bye week sucks. This is when the bye week stinks. It stinks. You're 3-1, playing great football, feeling good about yourself, and you go on a bye week, and it just totally sends your season into disarray. It reminds me so much of the Philadelphia Eagles in Carson Wentz's first season and Doug Peterson's first year. They were like 3-0, 3-1 going into the bye week. Come out of the bye, and shit goes sideways. Same thing happening to the Bears here. You come out of the bye, and you drop the next 4 out of 5 games. Lost at Miami. Lost at home versus New England. You win versus the Jets, which sandwiches your 4 losses. You lose the following week at Buffalo, and then lose versus Detroit the week after that. So after those losses, you bounce back, though, at the crib versus Minnesota. And another surprise win in the division. You take care of the North champs, and you give them an L as you go into Thanksgiving Day versus Detroit with a little bit of confidence. But it doesn't carry over. You lose that game on Thanksgiving to the Detroit Lions. You lose to the Giants the following week on the road. You lose to the Rams the following week after that at home. You lose to the Packers at home as well. Then you go to San Francisco, and late in the season, 49ers out of the playoff race. You beat the 49ers in San Francisco, but then you lose week 17 at Minnesota. And so the Bears, who I think are going to be a much more competitive football team in 2018, they finish up the season at 6-10 for the Chicago Bears. 1-5 in the division, which is actually an improvement from last year's 0-6 in the division. You're going to get one this year, and it's going to be against the Minnesota Vikings. So that's is my prediction for this division. Love to hear from you guys. I am going to now turn it over to you. I'm going to open up the phone line and let you guys have at it. And off we go. So, floor is yours. I've said what I said. I've said my piece. I'll check Twitter, see if there's anything there while I wait for the phone to ring. If it doesn't, we'll get to the comment section. So, nothing on Twitter. And so let's get to the comment section here. See what you guys have to say. My man Nick Riley says, already know what it is. The Kings of the North are retaining the crown. He is a Vikings fan, obviously. And so my man Nick at Night thinks the Vikings are going to hold on to the division. Nolan Pratt says, Thielen or Diggs, who's having the better season? For me, it's going to be Diggs. I think Kirk Cousins has a connection with Stephon Diggs. Even though Vikings haven't looked as sharp the past 2 weeks in the preseason, doesn't matter. I know what Kirk Cousins is about, and I know what Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are about. And I think right now the connection is between he and Diggs, but Thielen is still going to get his. So I expect Thielen to also have an impact this upcoming season as well. Nolan Pratt says, other than the offensive line, what's the Vikings' biggest weakness? I think it's the secondary. I look at your secondary, and if I'm an opposing team playing the Minnesota Vikings, I know it's going to be tough to run on them, but I'm going to take my shots at these corners. Stay away from Xavier Rhodes and go after whomever is opposite, Trey Waynes, whoever's in the slot. I'm going after them. I think I can win in those situations. Got a call, going to take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
It's Nick. Yo, what's good?
What's going on, Nick?
Not much. Like, I honestly, like, I thought you was going to, when you said the Vikings were a little bit overhyped, I thought you was about to make us, like, 10 and something or, like, 9 wins. But I got pretty much the same. But I'm like, I think we go 12 and 4.
Okay.
Like, we had the #1 defense. I think the defense, honestly, it got better. I feel like you added Sheldon Richardson, so it gives. I feel like that makes Everson Griffin's job to get sacked a lot easier. Even a plug he'll get more penetration to get Everson Griffin easier at the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you got Mike Hughes in the draft. He can come in and play the nickel spot, and in preseason he's been looking pretty damn good. And then I feel like the addition of George Iloka, you could put him as like a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
And you put like 3 safeties on the field. I feel like he kind of reminds me like how I was a big fan of Javon Curse, but Javon Curse didn't really dwell into what I thought he was going to be. I think he's going to get cut, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I remember how high you were on him.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a beast, to be honest.
Yeah.
But like, you know who else has been looking pretty good for us? That Eric Wilson. He's been balling. To me, he's probably going to start over Ben Gideon at the other linebacker spot.
Okay.
But for the Packers, I had them at 11 and 3. I feel like I don't think their receiving core is anything crazy. Like, of course you got they added Jimmy Graham. He should help, but that's for like in the blocking game, he's cheap. He ain't gonna do nothing for you in the blocking game. Then you got obviously you got Devontae Adams, but I don't like Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, I got #2. These last 2 seasons, he ain't have anything over like 750 yards. And then after that, you got Geronimo Allison. We ain't no one worried about Geronimo Allison. Then you got to think about their secondary. I feel like they're gonna be good in a couple of years, but with 2 rookies in the secondary, I feel like they're gonna have some like welcome to the NFL moment. Someone's gonna torch them.
Well, I think you're right, because I mean, I still think they're gonna start the kid from Kevin King from last year from
Oh yeah,
Washington. So
from Washington.
I would expect Jair Alexander to be across from him, and then you'll have somebody in the slot. They really like forgot his name in the slot. So they've got some stuff out there they're messing around with, and then I like their safeties. So we'll see. My thing with Green Bay has always been, can they get pressure on the quarterback?
I feel like our how our offensive line is pretty banged up. That's the thing that worries me the most. And our linebacker depth. I don't really like our linebacker depth that much either. But I feel like the Packers' offensive line is pretty solid. But they got Balaga's got a shit ton of injury history too. So that's a big question mark for them too.
Is Ben Gideon gonna start for y'all?
I have Eric Wilson start.
I know you said you think Wilson's gonna start. You think he's gonna start over Gideon?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Ben Gideon fan.
Unless they, like I said, maybe they do the hybrid and they'll put Iloka in there too and have him play like a hybrid linebacker spot.
Gotcha.
But for the Lions, I have them at 9 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest question mark about them is like they only have 35 sacks in the season. They can't get sacked for shit. They can't get any pressure. And then it's like they can't stop the run game either. Their run defense is terrible. I think they ranked like 23rd in rushing defense. They were giving up like $130 a game. Their offense is stacked though. I like their offense. And their rush offense is pretty bad too. But I think Kerryon Johnson is gonna help them in the run game.
I do too.
Honestly, like a lot of people have Golden Tate as the number 1 receiver. I don't think he's the number 1. I take Marvin Jones over him.
I think that's how they view Marvin Jones as well. I think they view him as the number 1 guy, and then they view Golden Tate as like 1A, 1B. But Marvin Jones is their go-to guy. But they know they have to get Golden Tate involved for them to flourish on offense and get him his touches too.
For the Bears, I have the Bears at. I think they could win 7, but it's more like 6 to me. I think 6 is like more reasonable.
Okay.
But I feel like now, I still thought Mitch Trubisky going number 1 was beyond too, but I wasn't a big fan of Mitch Trubisky. I thought Watson was the best quarterback in the draft. I think he showed that before he got injured. He was the best one. But now that he has a bunch of weapons now, so you don't really have any excuses.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a new scheme. That's the one thing you can say is, hey, still learning a new scheme and the terminology and getting comfortable with all of these new pieces. They haven't played him a lot in the preseason, so not a lot of reps in game situations. Obviously, you've got practice and you've got some of the the scrimmages that they've had with some of the other teams, but it doesn't substitute for playing in the game. And they haven't played him a lot this preseason. He's only played in 1 preseason game, so. I want to see how it meshes and gels together because a lot of these guys haven't played, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going to be anything too crazy, but
I expect them to be really, really competitive, though. Before I let you go, since I got you here, what's the vibe in Minnesota with Kirk Cousins thus far? What's the initial take on Kirk Cousins after these first 3 preseason games and what you've seen from him? And what's the mood like with the Viking fan base with Kirk Cousins coming in and them having seen him for 3 preseason games?
Honestly, I think he's been doing pretty good. Besides, the second game he didn't play too good against the Jags, but I feel like the reason he didn't play 2 games, so you got to think for most of the preseason games, we just got 2 of our starting offensive linemen back in the last preseason game that we just had. The other one we had 3rd string people playing, so he had to throw a bunch of checkdowns.
Okay, so what does the fan base feel like with him? Do they think that he's a huge upgrade and they think that this is the year?
I think from all the followers I have, they all feel the same way as I do. He's probably the best quarterback we had in a long damn time.
Okay.
I'd say he's probably the best one since we had since Brett Favre's first year. When Brett Favre the first season he played with us.
Yeah, the one where you went to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, when we lost to the Saints. But I feel like as a whole, our team is better now than it was then.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Hey man. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
I was saying as for the chemistry with the receivers, his chemistry with Diggs right now is looking real good. Mm-hmm. The chemistry with Thielen isn't really there yet, but I'm not worried about that.
It'll come along.
The one thing that pisses me off the most about our offense, though, is even though Tyler Rudolph is good in the red zone, he gets touchdowns. This dude gets hit on the first point of attack way too damn much. Like, he can't break tackles for shit.
Yeah, that's not his game, man. That's not what he does.
That shit drives me insane.
That goes all the way back to Notre Dame, man. He never broke tackles.
Like, I remember we tried to get Trey Burton, but the Bears got him. We offered him like a contract, but I think the Bears offered him a little bit more, so he decided to go there instead.
Hey, well, we'll see, man. I think this is going to be a really competitive division, and it wouldn't shock me if y'all won it. Wouldn't shock me if Green Bay won it. I got my money on the Packers, but I always got my money on the Packers. So
I feel like I can understand that though, just because Rodgers makes them so much better. But I don't really like the rest of their roster. I feel like the rest of their Rodgers can only do so much. He can't control the defense. The defense is pretty ugly.
We'll see, man. The Packers fans are really excited about their defense this year. I don't know if they have a reason to be, but they're really excited about their defense this year. So we'll see, man. But anyway, Nick, man, always a pleasure, bro. Thanks for calling in. And
no problem,
I know I can always count on you to chime in. And I know you were going to definitely call in and have a lot to say with this being your division here, man. Have a good one, bro.
You too, bro.
Be easy. All right, so that was my man Nick at Night chiming in on the NFC North. His Vikings, he thinks they're going to retain the NFC North crown with a record of 12-4. He's got the Packers at 11-5. He's got the Lions at 9-7 and the Bears at 6-10, possibly 7-9. So here's the thing that I want to talk about with the Vikings quickly is that I think a lot of people underrated what Case Keenum brought to the table last year. I think that Kirk Cousins is exponentially better than Case Keenum as a pure passer from the pocket. But here's the thing that Kirk Cousins doesn't bring to the table that Case Keenum did last year that I think the Vikings are going to miss this season is Case Keenum's escapability. Case Keenum was extraordinary last year at extending plays, avoiding sacks, and making things happen off schedule. That is not what Kirk Cousins does. So I think from that standpoint, and we're going to talk more about this, but I've got a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and answer it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
It's the Black Al Bundy. What up, Louie?
What's going on, Black Al B?
What's going on with you, man?
Nothing much, man. Chopping it up, talking NFC North football. I know this is right down your alley, you being a Vikings fan. Talk to me about this division. Talk to me about the expectations for your team, and what do you think is going to take place in the NFC North? Give me all the records for every team and talk about why you think whoever is going to win this division is going to win it, and give me the playoff teams that you have.
Listen, Lou, you already know I'm taking my Vikes to retain the NFC North title.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with what everybody's saying. We're gonna take it with. I'm gonna go with 11-5.
Okay.
I'm going through the growing pains with Kirk. We still got those offensive line issues.
Yep.
Dalvin's gonna have a big year. If we remember correctly, Dalvin was gonna be Alvin Kamara before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to see what he's gonna do. The Pack, these motherfuckers. Excuse my language.
No, you good. You good.
The Pack still got that trash defense, so I'm the Pack to do 10-6 because they got that man A-Rod back there, that bad man.
Yeah.
The Lions, I think the Lions gonna go 8-8. Mm-hmm. They got a good squad, but Matt Patricia, he had that, so that may rock the bed a little bit over there. And I got Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears. They going about. I give them 4-12.
Okay.
I get the Bears 4-12 this year.
So you think they're taking a step back?
Yeah, I think they're taking a step back this year. I don't like that new coach. We gotta see what he's gonna do.
Okay.
And who is he? He one of the Shanahan guys, right? No, he one of the Andy Reid boys.
Yeah,
so.
He came from Kansas City with Andy Reid, and he was with him in Philadelphia as well. Was Matt Nagy?
Yeah, so I'm going with that record for us.
Okay. What do you? So you got you and Green Bay going to the playoffs, or just Minnesota?
I got the Pack getting in. I got them getting in as a wild card.
Okay. So you got you winning the division.
We got two in the division going.
All right. So now talk to me about the expectations for this Vikings team. Have they ever been higher for you as a fan? And what's the sense you get about the fan base with this football team coming off of the season you had last year, adding Kirk Cousins in the offseason, and then what you've seen in the preseason thus far? Talk to me about how you feel about this team going into 2018.
I think the expectations should be high. I mean, we coming back for blood this year, man. That loss in Philly left a bad taste in our mouths, so we coming back. I think the biggest play going to be how DeFilippo what his playbook going to look like.
Yeah.
I got faith in Kirk. If you give him time, he can make the throws. But that's the big tell-off for me is what DeFilippo going to do with these weapons we got. AT, Diggs, Treadwell stepping it up and doing the preseason. He doing this thing. Got Dalvin Cook back there. Tay still looking like a beast. Oh, the sky's the limit, man. And let's not forget about Kyle, the red zone reindeer back there.
Yeah.
And now that Jason Witten's out the league, he's the best tight end in the league. I don't care what anybody say. Y'all can hate on me for that. I love my Vikings. That's what we going to do. We getting 12-4, 11-5 this year.
I think John DeFilippo is an excellent offensive mind. The question is he ready for this stage as an offensive coordinator?
Exactly, because he came from Philly being the quarterback's coach.
Right.
So just hopefully he can take what he did, the little bit he did with Wentz, bring it over to Cousins, teach him how to, control the clock, limit turnovers, definitely limit turnovers, and just be smart with the ball. Sky's the limit for us.
All right, man. Good to hear from you, Black L.B, man. He's got the Vikings retaining the crown in the NFC North, and I think you guys feel like it's win or bust this year, man. Win it all, or it's not a complete season. I think y'all are at that point now where just winning the division and getting to the playoffs isn't enough.
Oh, it's not. It's not. And even if we get in the playoffs this year and it don't work out, I'm a Vikings fan. I'm used to that. That's Kirk's first year. So,
yeah.
Second year is definitely going to get done, but I'm hoping on this year. You know what I'm saying? I
hear that, man. Hey, man, always a pleasure, bruh. Take it easy, man. Good hearing from you, man.
Listen, man, we appreciate what you're doing for the sport out there, man. Making this call in and everything. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Hey, I appreciate that, bro. No doubt. And I definitely will hold it down.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You already know. Skull, baby.
Hey, that's my man, Black L.B, Vikings fan and extraordinaire. And he feels like the Vikings, what else do you expect him to say, are going to win the division? And so, but back to what I originally was saying about Case Keenum and Kirk Cousins. Case Keenum brought an element. You remember that? If you're a Vikings fan, you remember that Carolina game last year on the road. I mean, how many guys did he make miss in that Carolina game last year? What about the Falcons game in Minnesota? You know, you lost the Carolina game. You had opportunities. He brought you back in that game, but he made some mistakes. You won the game against Atlanta, low scoring at home. Case Keenum made some moves on a critical third down to complete a pass. He did some really creative things last year with his legs to extend plays. That's not what Kirk Cousins is about. And if that offensive line is not A1 and they have breakdowns like we saw in week 2 versus Jacksonville in the preseason, he's not going to have success. Kirk Cousins does not function well when he is under duress. When there is a very cloudy and muggy and dirty and filthy pocket, he doesn't operate well. He needs space and opportunity. When he's comfortable, he's deadly. When he's not, he can be a guy that can be just as ordinary as the next man. And that's where Case Keenum stepped up last year. When things weren't exactly the way that they were supposed to be up front, he made the offensive line right. He made the offense move because of his ability to move within and outside the pocket. I don't know if Kirk Cousins is going to be able to do those things for the Vikings this year, so it's going to be imperative that they be able to block better up front. You look at the Packers, and let's get to some more comments. I'm talking too much. Matthew Lynch says his predictions: Vikings 11-5, Packers 11-5, Lions 8-8, Bears 7-9, and he says, "Don't kill me, Nick." So his predictions are pretty much in line with mine. He's got the Lions winning one more game than I do. He's got the Bears winning one more game than I do. But he's pretty much right in line with what I have as well. Anu Naga says, "What's good, man? What's good with you, bruh? Good to see you in here chopping it up with us." Likely Phenomenon says he'll be calling in. I'm waiting for you to call in. I can't wait to hear from you. But we got a call coming in right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, Lou? It's Mo Hunnit.
What's going on, man?
Been a little while, huh?
It has.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the NFC North division, man. Give me your records for all the teams. How many playoff teams do you have?
Playoff teams right now. I'm going
Turn your phone up. Right, turn your phone up. We can barely hear you.
Better?
Oh, much better.
I have 2 playoff teams out of this division, Packers and Vikings.
Okay. What are your records for every team in the division?
All right. I'm with you on the Packers and Vikings. Both 11-5 seems fair for both of them.
Okay.
Unless the Packers get Khalil Mack, then I have them going to the Super Bowl.
That would be I'll tell you this much. That would be the missing piece. I don't see it happening, but that would be the missing piece because they can't get consistent pressure on the quarterback. That's always been because everybody likes to talk about the secondary with Green Bay. And yes, secondary has been lackluster. That's why they invested so many resources in the secondary. But if you get pressure up front, it kind of goes hand in hand with the back end. You get pressure up front, it's going to make that secondary look a lot better. So I feel you on Khalil Mack, but I don't see it happening. But if it does, that would really change things for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, considering he's worth like maybe 5 first-round picks, he's worth a lot. So
he is, absolutely. And even though I don't think they're going to trade him, and I've already said this, you don't get equal value for a star in this league. They would be asking for king's ransom for him. And that's why I think it's so hard to actually move him because of the package that it would take to get a guy like Khalil Mack.
That is correct. And then for third place, I actually have the Chicago Bears over the Detroit Lions. Because for me, the Detroit Lions, the key is for running the football. And I'm pretty sure they're still not going to be able to do that. Because I think they're missing that, like, feature back. Like, they need that dude. And there potentially might be one on the roster yet. But they need that dude. And as soon as they find that dude, then I'll move them up right now. And I think Chicago, they're hungry. They're young and hungry. They're fighting for it. They haven't actually. Their schedule is pretty easy, with the exception of their last 5 games. So they could do something, but they're still pretty young.
Yeah. So what do you have the Bears going?
8-8.
Okay, so you got the Bears getting to 500. Okay, and what about the Lions?
I have the Lions going 5-11. I think it's just not going to be a good year.
Ooh, okay. So you're the first person to really be down on the Lions, and you think they're going to be a 5-11 football team. That's a huge step backwards with first-year head coach Matt Patricia.
You have to take a step back to take a step forward. So
it sometimes that's what you have to do, and we'll see if that is in fact what happens to the Detroit Lions, man. Appreciate you chiming in on the NFC North. Don't be a stranger, man. You have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
All right. So he had the Lions going 5-11. Yikes. That's pretty steep. Let's see. He's Likely Phenomenon says, "Well, I don't agree with your 7-9. I respect your prediction. You said you was gonna call in. I'm still waiting. JP says, "I have a strong feeling the Bears are gonna be really good." Like, what's really good? That's what we need to know. Nick Riley says, "Another thing I forgot to mention was getting Dalvin Cook back is absolutely huge, and I'm worried about Pat Elflein staying on the PUP list. Don't worry, your man Black L.A.B mentioned Dalvin Cook coming back and pretty much hit on all of that about how good they think he's going to be. Really haven't seen him this preseason. Don't need to see him in the preseason. They're more concerned with his play in the regular season. So we'll definitely see him week 1 versus the 49ers. Haven't seen him all preseason. However, also Nick says, one thing I liked about Case was his ability to stem plays with his legs, but as far as giving you the best chance to win 11 game winning drive since 2015, third most since that time. Like I said, I'll take Kirk Cousins over Case Keenum any day, twice on Sundays, but Case Keenum did something and brought an element to that Vikings offense that can't be understated. That with a faulty offensive line, you need a guy that can create things off schedule and extend plays. That is not who Kirk Cousins is. Meanwhile, that's exactly who Case Keenum was for you last year. You're on live with Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, Louie, this is Javier calling from Kenosha, Wisconsin. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, doing good, brother.
Good, good. Talk to me about the NFC North. Who do you have winning the division? What are the records for all the teams? And let's get into this division. Talk to me about the NFC North.
All right, brother. I got the Packers going 12-4.
Okay.
I got the Vikings going 10-6.
Okay.
The Lions 8-8.
Yep.
And then the Bears 5-11.
5-11 for the Bears. Okay, so you've got the Packers winning the division at 12-4. Do the Vikings make it in at 10-6?
Yes, they do. Wild card.
Talk to me about each team in this division, and I need you to give me a breakout player for each team in this division.
All right. I'm a Packers fan, so I know mainly about the Packers. I'm going to break down a little bit of their offense and a little bit of their defense.
Okay, so you're a Packers fan, so let's focus in on the Packers. You're from Wisconsin, obviously. So let's talk about the Packers and this team. Are you, as a fan, and the fan base, talk to me about the fan base and your perspective. Are you excited about this defense this year? Do you think this defense has a chance to be exponentially better in 2018 than it was, say, last year and the year before?
Oh, absolutely. All the fan base is very excited about this season. We actually have a lot of corners that have talent.
Mm-hmm.
And with Tramon Williams back,
mm-hmm.
he's bringing that experience. Also, the rookies they've been getting interceptions in the preseason right now.
Yeah.
So I got them at the top 10 defense this year. I know it's crazy, but yeah, I'm guessing top 10.
Who's going to get pressure on the quarterback outside of Nick Perry? Who's going to get pressure on the quarterback?
I got Reggie White. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you say Reggie White?
Reggie Gilbert. I'm sorry, Reggie Gilbert.
Okay.
He's gonna surprise a lot of people. And our defensive line is actually pretty strong this year with Kenny Clark,
mm-hmm.
Muhammad Wilkerson,
mm-hmm.
Mike Daniels,
mm-hmm.
and surprisingly this year is gonna be Montravius Adams.
How has Muhammad Wilkerson been looking for you guys? That was a big offseason acquisition.
In my point of view, he's been decent. I think they still have to work becoming better
mm-hmm.
As a team, getting better. But I definitely see him pushing strong this year.
Yeah.
And also, we get a huge improvement in middle linebacker. Unfortunately, Jake Ryan did get hurt, but I think it's going to help us in the long term with Oren Burks, our third rounder this year. And we just picked up Morrison from the Colts. So I think we've definitely improved there. And also, now in the offense, though, I do see a little bit of weakness or questions in the wide receiver position.
I was just about to ask you that next.
Yes, sir. I mean, I obviously Adams is our go-to. The kid's a beast. And after that, it's question marks at wide receiver. But I think one kid that's going to surprise us all is Jake Kumaro.
Is he healthy? Because I remember he hurt himself a couple preseason games ago against the Steelers. Is he okay?
Yeah, it sounds like he'll be all right.
Okay.
They just set him out for game 3, and I believe game 4.
Okay.
So just for precaution.
Okay.
But it sounds like it's not serious. And but yeah, I think he's a fan favorite right now. It looks like.
Yep.
So he's gonna surprise. I know Rodgers likes him.
Yep.
So,
I've seen he looks impressive, man, and he's a guy coming off the pace nobody was talking about, undrafted type of guy, and he's really been playing well this year, this preseason.
Yeah, surprised a lot of fans, and like I mentioned before, the fan base loves him. So I think he's going to be a great addition to the team. And our tight ends, I think, are very decent this year. With Jimmy Graham, he's definitely going to be that red zone target.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big upgrade there at the tight end position, for sure.
Now we got
What about your run game? What do the backs look like? Who's the lead dog? Is it Aaron Jones? Who's taking the bulk of the first team reps at running back?
Right. So Aaron Jones is suspended for the first 2 games. So the top running back right now is going to be Jamal Williams.
Okay.
And from my perspective, he's not going to be the best, but he'll do enough to get us through the first few games. And Aaron Jones is definitely the best back we got.
Right.
I'm not sold on Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously he's still pretty decent.
He is. He's serviceable, but he's not ideal. You know.
Exactly. And compared to other years, I think we will have our running game this year.
Okay. Hey, man, that was a really informative call. Appreciate the insight on the Packers. You got them going 12-4, winning the division. You've got the Vikings going 10-6. You got the Lions going 8-8, and you have the Bears going 5-11. Man, thanks for the call. It was awesome. Thanks for tuning in, and look forward to talking to you in the future, man. Take care.
No, thank you, Louie, for your time.
Hey, no doubt, man. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, this might be phenomenon. What's going on, Lou?
What's going on with you, man?
Nothing much, man. Finally doing my division, man. It took you long enough.
Yeah, I had to get through.
I'm just joking.
Hey, no, you good, but I always go in the order of the way these teams finish the season, and your division got to step their game up, man. Got to the NFC Championship game, but got their ass smoked. So you want to change that? Get your team in there. Talk to me. You don't like my 7-9 for your Lions. So talk to me first about this division. Give me the records for all the teams, and then tell me why I'm wrong with your Lions going 7-9 this year.
All right. I'm gonna start with probably the person you like in the division. I'm gonna start with your Green Bay Packers and your Aaron Rodgers. Why I do see them being contenders in our division this year, I ultimately don't see them winning. No, I do see them finishing somewhere between 9-7 to 10-6.
Okay.
Now, for the new and improved Vikings with Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook, mind you, what a lot of people are forgetting about, that man is coming off an ACL. And anybody that knows football knows that not only does the running back position have a short shelf life in the NFL, regardless of the revolution of the running back that we've seen over the years, ACLs are ACLs, and it's still a 2-year injury. While he may be Dalvin Cook in uniform, he may not be Dalvin Cook in ability just yet.
Right.
Which I think leaves the door open for first let me get a record. I see the Vikings probably finishing, like I said, 9-7 or 8-8.
Okay, whoa. So you got them taking a nice step back.
Yeah, just because they've been hyped for so long, and though they have a good defense, at the same time, there's always something that's just up with their offense. Even though they got good receivers and they got a good running back, there's just always something up with their offense that keeps them from making that leap. You see, they needed the Minneapolis Miracle because there's always something up with their offense. So that brings me to the team that I see winning this division this year for the first time since it became the NFC North. The last time we won a division, it was the NFC Central, I believe.
Central.
And I'm going with the Detroit Lions, and I see us finishing with an 11-5. Worst case scenario. Best case scenario, the Lions just come out on fire. I can see us going 12-4 this year, despite our tough schedule. The NFL has given the Lions a tough schedule year after year.
Your schedule is brutal, bro. That's why I can't see y'all going 11-5.
The reason why I say that is because the Lions have been given tough schedule year after year after year, and we get wins in the beginning of the season and we start creeping up on people, then everybody starts talking about us, and the expectations get high, and then we can't seem to get over it once we get to that point. But I think that's why Bob Quinn made the change to bring in Matt, who comes from an organization that's used to high expectations. So once we are at that point, we have a coach and a general manager now that's able to help us get over that hump, I believe. If it does not come to fruition this year, which I have not, I've been right about our record a few years. If it doesn't come to fruition this year, then definitely next year I'll be taking the division. But I see now Aaron Rodgers his psyche is messed up in Green Bay. People don't know, but it is. When you lose people that you don't want to lose, like a Jordy Nelson, and you go through all these changes in the off season, even though they're saying they're building around you, they're really building for after him. And I really don't see them giving him the money that they think Aaron Rodgers is going to get, which he's going to be the first franchise, even though people were saying it was Kirk Cousins. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the first franchise quarterback since Peyton Manning to hit the open market.
Wow. That is a huge, huge prediction there, man. You heard it here first. Man, Likely Phenomenon is saying that not only is Aaron Rodgers a little disgruntled about the situation in Green Bay with some of his players not being retained, i.e. most notably Jordy Nelson moving on to Oakland, but he's not going to get that contract that we keep hearing is in the works and that they're getting closer on. It's not going to happen, and he's going to hit the free agent market. You really think that's going to happen? You really think the Packers are going to allow another Hall of Fame quarterback to walk out of their building?
The reason why I think that is because, for one, he's seen it happen to Brett Favre, and he remember backing him up, and he remember them telling Brett Favre to his face. Mind you, Aaron Rodgers was there when Brett Favre was negotiating with the Packers, and they were telling him, "Oh, you're going to retire for us. You're going to be here forever," and then he was gone. So I believe Aaron is not going to want that same thing to happen, even if he knows he's got an extension. He's only another, collarbone or another significant injury away from them trying to move on anyway. So that's why I think he's going to end up testing to see what else he can do. He may decide to leave the NFC altogether and go to the AFC and challenge Tom Brady in his division. So,
wow. Okay, that's a hell of a hot take there, Likely.
I mean, they said it was supposed to be the greatest rivalry since Peyton and Tom, but they never got a chance to fully face each other. So I think the only way that happens is if you pull a LeBron and leave his conference and go to the AFC to challenge Tom Brady in that regard.
The only difference is in the NFL, you don't control what you do. I mean, if the Packers say, nope, you're not going anywhere, they could just franchise tag him. So, it sounds good. I love your rationale. I just don't see it happening. So, we're going to see, though. That's a really interesting take, though, about not just, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers situation, but the entire division as a whole. So, recap quickly your records for everybody in the division.
Okay, so I got the Lions, the best case scenario. I got us winning the division this year. Best case scenario, 12-4. Worst case scenario, 11-5. But knowing Aaron Rodgers shit might get dicey, so we might need 10-6. But I see us going 11-5 or 12-4.
Okay.
But like I said, the Vikings gonna take a step back this year, so I have them at 9-7, 8-8, and then I have the Packers going 9-7 or 10-6. Depending on, how their pieces fit and whatnot.
Yep.
Not to the Bears. I know everybody's saying Mitchell Trubisky, but somebody got to finish in the cellar in our division. It happens every year, and more than likely it's the Bears. So it's going to be the Bears again this year. As far as their record, is usually a toss-up every year. I'll probably give them 6 wins. I'll give them 6-10.
Okay. All right, man. That's a hell of a call, Likely Phenomenon. I've been waiting on it, and you delivered, bruh. Appreciate you coming through, dropping these gems on our melon. We'll see if this comes to fruition or not. If the Lions win the division, I'll be thinking of you. If they don't, I'll just continue to go on business as usual because I never expect the Lions to win the division. So we'll see what happens,
It's understandable, man. You won't be the first person, but again.
But you're right. Y'all do start off
sometimes.
hot. Y'all normally start off hot and then y'all fade. Y'all did it last year again. So we'll see if that changes this year. But you have a good one, man.
Again,
take it easy, bro.
Appreciate it, little man.
No doubt. Anytime. All right, got another call coming in. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Speaking with Double A, it's Alan Adkins.
What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I've been glad to finally meet you, talk to you.
Man, likewise, man. We've been chopping it up in the chat discussion for the longest time, man. Good to finally hear you come on the show. So talk to me about this division. I know you're a Vikings fan, and I know you probably got the Vikings winning the division, but talk to me about this division as a whole. Who do you see winning the division? Give me all the records for all the teams and why these teams are going to achieve these records.
Man, well, Vikings 12-4 because this is our division. We're the kings of the North.
Okay.
And I got the Packers finishing second at 10-6.
Okay.
And, you know, Rodgers is good. Rodgers is the only reason that team is good.
We saw that last year.
Yeah. And third place, I actually have the Bears taking a step up, going 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking. They had a hell of a draft.
Yeah, they did.
Hell of a draft. That scared me. That draft scared me. That's the one thing in this division that scared me. Taylor Rodgers, Anthony Miller. They got James Daniels.
Roquan Smith.
Yeah. Yep. That's dangerous.
Yep.
And the Toilet Kittens, you know they're going 6 and 10 and 11. They're garbage. Carry on my wayward son Johnson. He ain't gonna do shit. And they've reached so hard on him.
Oh, so you don't like Kerryon Johnson? You don't believe in Kerryon Johnson?
Nah, he ain't nothing. He's better than Aaron Jones and that Williams guy and whatever else garbage the Packers are bringing in this year, but man, I don't know. Draft a fullback and Packers are drafting a damn punter. Even my goddamn Vikings are drafting a kicker.
Hey,
in
look,
the fifth
man,
round.
you understand how the game go. Hey, I was not comfortable with and he came from Washington once upon a time, Kai Forbath. I was not comfortable with him being on a team that was looking to try to win a Super Bowl. I'm just not comfortable with Kai Forbath being a field goal kicker. So y'all needed to do something there.
We did. And Daniel Carson, he looks real good.
Yeah.
He missed a couple of field goals in preseason, one game, but man, that kickoff ability, he puts that stuff right in the corner, the bunt corner, it looks like, goes right down there in the 5-yard. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. And I seen Kai miss a field goal too, so he ain't been clean as damn self.
Oh yeah. And then I don't know, I think breakouts for this division.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings, I'm thinking Mac is going to have a hell of a year. Mac Alexander. I know you don't like him, but
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Is there enough snaps on that team? Because I imagine your first round pick is going to get on the field.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Mike Zimmerman don't usually like to put in the rookies, but he does seem to trust Hughes. So I don't know, man. I still think Mac's coming up, though. He gets better and better every time.
His ass still can't catch a damn cold.
Yeah. I'm not feeling great right now. Sorry. I had to take the opportunity to call in and say hi. And
hey, man, I really appreciate that. I love your analysis and a little bit of trash talk sprinkled in. And so it was good catching up with you, man. And don't be a stranger, man. Call in more often when we have these opportunities and voice your opinion, man. Appreciate you chiming in, man. Have a good one.
Yep, you too, man.
All right. So that was back to back to back to back calls. And now we're starting to see some people feeling like the Lions are going to be the team that brings up the rear. I'm starting to get a few more of those in there. People not buying the Lions. We had a caller and Likely Phenomenon call in and tell you why the Lions were going to win this division. They haven't won the division, I don't think, since 1999, if I'm not mistaken. They haven't won the NFC North, and they've never won the North. Like he said, when they won the division in 99, remember the divisions weren't realigned until 2002. So they haven't won the division since 99. It was still the Central then, but got another call coming in. Let's take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
Louie Tee, this is John Perez. How you doing, man?
What's up, JP? Turn your phone up, man.
I got you.
Talk to me about the NFC North, man. What you think is going to happen in this division? Give me, and you already kind of gave me a shock. So you already gave us a little bit of a curveball. So I want to hear from you because you said you think the Bears are going to be good this year. So give me the records for every team in this division. Tell me who you think is going to make the playoffs, and give me your order of these teams.
All right, I got the Vikings winning the division, and not only do I have them winning the division, they're my pick to win the Super Bowl.
Wow, so you got the Vikings going all the way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think second place is going to be a battle between Green Bay and Chicago, and then I got Detroit somewhere in the third spot range.
Okay, so do you have records to put to this, or are you just going with generalizations?
I think the Vikings are going 12-4.
Okay.
I got Green Bay going 11-5. I got Chicago going 11-5, 10-6. I think Detroit is going to miss the playoffs by one game, but they go 10-6, 9-7.
Wow. Okay, got you. So you got the Bears going 11-5. Why do you feel this bullish on the Chicago Bears year one with Matt Nagy as head coach?
2 words: Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh, so you a Mitch Trubisky guy?
I think this is his breakout year. I think with the addition of Allen Robinson, the upgraded Bears offense, Matt Nagy coming in as head coach, I think they're going to be really good. People may want to tell me what the hell are you smoking, but I'm really confident in this Bears team, and I think the Lions are going to be up there because Kerryon Johnson is going to take the pressure off Stafford. Mm-hmm. I think Green Bay with Bad Man Rodgers coming back, I got them right up there in the division, but I think Chicago is going to be the sleeper team this year.
Wow, unreal. Okay, JP, that was a serious curveball there, bro. You've got the Vikings going 12-4. You've got the Packers at 11-5. You've got the Lions at, would you say the Lions are going to be?
I'm going to say 10-6,
9-7. Okay, 10-6, 9-7. So you got this entire division being really good, like one of the best in football.
Yeah, this is the oldest division of football. I think it goes back to 1920s, 1930s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the Bears and the Packers have the oldest rivalry in football. They've played the most games against one another.
Yeah,
and they're another one of those. They're another one of those teams too. I talked about this with. I think yesterday we spoke about this with the what were the divisions? The South, and how the Falcons and the Saints always play on national television. You know, every year you're going to get Green Bay and Chicago at some point on some national platform. Thursday, Sunday, Monday, somewhere. You're going to get Bears, Packers. You're going to get Ravens, Steelers. That's a hot rivalry right now. And the Bears and the Packers are one of those teams. Those games that you're going to get at some point during the season on national television.
Yeah, don't forget Cowboys-Redskins.
Yep, I talked about that yesterday. Cowboys-Redskins, there are about 5 games you're going to get on national television every year. Cowboys-Redskins is one. Falcons and Saints are another one. Packers-Bears, Steelers, Ravens, you're going to get that at some point as well. Those are the 4, I think, that are givens every single year. They're going to be on TV. You might could throw in Cowboys and Giants. They love to put those 2 on TV, usually Sunday night as well. But you're going to get those 4 for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to definitely try to tune into that Bears-Packers Week 1 matchup. That's going to be a really good one.
I think so, too. The Bears are going to be amped. Yeah. That's Nagy's first game, and he's got those guys believing. And They always give the Packers a run for their money. We'll see if they're able to go into Lambeau week 1 and make a statement.
Yeah. I think the key, though, with Chicago is going to be their offensive line. Can Kyle Long stay healthy? Can all those guys protect Trubisky so he doesn't have to use his legs that much and just focus on throwing in the pocket? That's my biggest question with Chicago. But other than that, I think they're going to be good.
Hey, JP, man, always a pleasure, bro. Thanks for chiming in. And don't be a stranger, man. I missed you the last couple nights.
All right. Thank you very much, Lou.
Yeah,
I'll
man.
be back on for the AFC North breakdown.
Sounds good, man. I can't wait for that one.
All right. Thanks, Lou.
All right, have a good one. All right, so my man JP thinks the Bears are going to win 11 games. He did not stutter. 11 games. That's crazy, but you know what? A lot of y'all are starting to have different opinions about this division, and it's one of those divisions that I look at and I think it could go a number of different ways. I don't think the Bears are winning this division this year, but it wouldn't shock me if the Lions were competitive and in it to win it. I don't think they're going to win the division either. I think it's a 2-team race in Minnesota and Green Bay, but you just never know what Lions team is going to show up. You don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to stay healthy. He hasn't been healthy, the last 2 out of 3 seasons. So if he's healthy, he's dangerous. We all know this to be a fact. This is a very intriguing division, to say the least. Got another call, going to take it. You're on live with your man Louie Tee. Who am I speaking with?
This is Ezel from Hawaii. It's my first time calling.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing y'all trash my Lions, and it's I'm not understanding.
So first, before you write us, talk to us about this division. What do you think is going to take place? How many teams you got making the postseason? And then enlighten us. If we got your Lions all twisted, then tell us why we got the game all messed up.
All right, so I got the Vikings winning the division, no doubt.
Okay, what's the
record? I got
there?
the best defense. I'll say 11-5.
Okay.
I have Green Bay and Detroit fighting for second place.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Detroit is going to be 10-6, Green Bay 9-7.
Okay.
And this is based on quarterback play. Typically, we go off the teams with the best quarterbacks, and no one can sit here and tell me that the Bears are going to be better than Detroit with Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
And a bunch of players that they haven't even built a rapport with yet. Haven't played any regular season games with the wide receivers yet.
Yeah.
But yet they're about to be over the Lions. Aaron Rodgers just lost a major receiver that he had a great rapport with.
Right.
And their defense is still suspect.
Yeah.
They still haven't fixed the secondary issue. And the Lions have the best wide receiving core in the division. They're the only team in the division they're the only team in the league that had 2 1,000-yard wide receivers. Then you just add it to the offensive line, and you have a rushing attack. It doesn't have to be the best rushing attack. It just has to be an option for the Lions, especially since they were already one of the top offenses in the league without a rushing attack.
Right.
So that's my reasoning.
So everything you just said had nothing to do with the defense. The defense wasn't great last year. Why should I believe in this Lions defense? Y'all don't get pressure on the quarterback. Why should I believe you're going to get pressure on the quarterback this year?
Oh, why should you? Well, Detroit, you're absolutely right. Detroit didn't have great defense last year, but if you actually watch the games, most of the games they were in, and because they didn't have a rushing attack, they were doing a lot of 3 and outs. Detroit was one of the top teams in the league with 3 and outs, causing the defense having to be on the field a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So with the rushing game, that should take some of the pressure off of the defense. I'm not saying it's going to be the best pass rush in the league, but I still think that their secondary is way better than Green Bay's secondary, which we all know is a lot worse. And their pass rush isn't any better. The only thing we're going off with Green Bay is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. I mean, they've made some improvements that you want to take a look at and you want to see how it works and how it figures into the equation defensively, like Muhammad Wilkerson. We'll see what happens in that division. It's going to be interesting. the Lions are one of those teams. I never know what to expect out of the Lions. I mean, you think you know what you're getting. Remember the hot start last year? Everybody was thinking, hey, look out for the Lions. And then you start losing some games that maybe you shouldn't lose. And all of a sudden now, you know, you come down to the stretch and you're having to win games in some situations. Did you guys go to Cincinnati last year and lose in a game that you needed to win late in the season? Didn't you do that?
You absolutely.
That's
true,
the Lions
true.
team that I just can't figure out. You need to win on the road against a team that has nothing to play for. You go in there, you lay an egg, you lose, and that's part of the reason why you moved on from your head coach in Jim Caldwell, and you're going to try Matt Patricia now. But I want to see. I'm one of those guys. I need to see it, and until I see what Matt Patricia has in store for me, hard for me to buy what the Lions are selling right now.
All right. I love what you do, though, and thanks for letting me make this call, man.
Hey, no doubt, man, and I love your point of view. Love what you brought to the table, man. Anytime, call in and give us your perspective, man. Do it again.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right, peace.
All right. So that was a good call as well. We had some good calls tonight, man. People dropping some gems on our melon, giving us reasons as to why, not just coming on and spewing hate, but actually giving us some thoughtful insight as to why their team either going to win the division or be competitive, make the postseason. So some great calls tonight. We still got 30 minutes left in the show. We'll get to some more comments here. Might even get out of here early so we can start setting up for the next division. We'll see what we got. Nick says, another guy I really like a lot in the preseason is Mike Boone. Expect him to fill in the jet role, but you won't hear me hype Treadwell for nothing. Man is booty cheeks. So not feeling Laquan Treadwell. He's been getting some reps in the preseason, but I don't know if he'll ever be a guy that lives up to his first round standing in the league. Mind Draw says, would love to call you, but my line from Mexico doesn't work. Go Lions. It's all good, bro. Leave your comments in here so we can read it and see how you feel about the upcoming season. Angry Birds of Chaos says, won't let me call. I'm in Texas. Don't know the area code. All right, got a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie Tee. Live. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Rob. This is Rob, Louie Tee.
What's going on, Rob?
First thing I want to say was congratulations about you becoming a father.
Hey, man, I appreciate that, man. I'm really excited, and I can't wait to see what my little guy looks like. But it's been a long time coming, man.
Are you guys going to wait till you see him before you actually name him then?
Oh, no, he's going to be named after me. So another little Louie Tee coming in to the world.
I don't know if I like that or not. Well, you see, I'm a junior, and I never really liked that. So
I have as well. So he'll be a third, actually.
Yep. Anyway, about our division here, I think I'm going to say it's going to go to Green Bay.
Okay.
With a 11-5 record.
All right.
And Minnesota will be second with 10-6.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago and Detroit will both be 6-10.
Okay, so it's a two-team race in your mind between Minnesota and Green Bay. You've got the Packers with the leg up. Are you a fan of any of these teams?
No, I'm a Seahawks fan.
Okay, you're a Seahawks fan. Should have known you're out in Washington, but nonetheless,
yep.
So why do you think the Packers are going to win this division?
Well, I think in the case of Minnesota, we'll say, they lost their offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how their new one's going to be doing as far as what he's actually going to be bringing to their table. So, and so I just think that offensively, Green Bay will be better than Minnesota by quite a bit, a little bit. So, with the addition of Jimmy Graham and stuff like that. So,
okay. So you've got the Packers winning this division at 11-5. You've got the Vikings coming in at 10-6, and then the two teams beneath them both 6-10 in the Bears and the Lions. You think the Lions, with their new first-year head coach Matt Patricia, are really going to take a huge step back from 9-7 to 6-10?
I do. I don't know how well that coaching change is actually going to work for them.
Yep.
So, it's just like an unknown unknown commodity to me, really. So
I feel you on that, man. I'm one of those wait and see type of guys, and he's been a coordinator for so long. I don't know if there's a reason why he didn't take that step to be a head coach, but we're going to find out.
Even though he's a defensive coordinator, I just don't know if they've got the personnel to really improve that much on that department. So, so that's why I kind of got them falling a little bit.
10. All right, man. And you think the Bears, with their first-year head coach, going to win an additional game this year and get to 6-10? You like what they're doing in Chicago?
I like what they're doing with their defense. I'm not necessarily, with Mitch Trubisky, I just don't know if I ever seen him really getting any better during last year. He never threw more than one touchdown in a game, so it just didn't seem like I've seen that much improvement from week to week with that quarterback. Okay. So I couldn't really say for sure how well he's going to continue doing. But like I said, I do like what they've been trying to do with their defense.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got them improving. And their running game's really good. So
it is. They've got a nice little two-headed monster in that backfield. So we'll see what happens with the Chicago Bears. But you've got the Packers winning the division, and you've got the Lions at 6-10. Hey, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, God bless you, and you guys have a great life together when you finally get together. So.
Hey, man, I appreciate that so much, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Have a good one.
Bye, Louie. Bye, Louie.
All right, so Rob has the Packers winning the division, barely over the Vikings at 6-10, 10-6. Packers at 11-5, and then he's got both the Lions and Bears both at 6-10. So he doesn't have a lot of confidence in the Lions' ability to get it done. Can't make it seem like 6-10 is that far-fetched. I have the Lions at 7-9, even though they could easily be 9-7. I don't see them being any better than 9-7. I could see them potentially being, 9-7, 8-8, but I've got them at 7-9 as it stands right now. Mind Draw says I could see the Packers, Vikings, and Lions going double-digit wins. If some of these teams get bad injuries on their O-line or their running back, they're going down. So Mind Draws is a Lions fan, and he can see all three of those top-tier teams in this division getting the double-digit wins. But if they have injuries, as we've seen with the Vikings already on their offensive line or at the running back position, those teams' records could suffer because of it. So let's get to some more comments. All right. Here we go. JP says, I hope Kerryon Johnson does some great things in Detroit. I'm rooting for him, too. I'm a huge Kerryon Johnson fan. Mondraw says, I'm excited for the Packers running backs 30 and 33. Running backs go crazy in their sophomore years. We'll see about that. I believe 30 and 33 are Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones is 33, I believe. Not sure if the BYU running back is number 30. He might be number 30. Keeping it moving, though. Nick Riley says, I think the Packers won't pay big money to Rodgers. They're talking about surrounding him with talent, but where is that talent? They've been saying that for years. They don't spend their picks early in the draft on receivers because they feel like Aaron Rodgers' talent will help a mediocre receiver become a great receiver. So when's the last time we saw them spend a top-tier pick on a receiver? Was it Jordy Nelson? I think he was a second-round pick, right? Second-round pick out of K-State was Jordy Nelson. They don't do that very often in Green Bay. They spend their draft picks on receivers in the 5th and the 6th and the 7th round as they did this year and they did last year. So we'll see. I just can't see the Packers not re-signing Aaron Rodgers. It's just crazy to me. John Perez says, Vikings are not only my division winner, but they're also my pick to win the Super Bowl, as he mentioned on his call. Nick Riley says, "Hey, another Vikings homie that likes Mac. See, Lou, I'm not the only one, but Mike Hughes is better." So yeah, Aldine came on and he said that my man Double A said that he's got Mac Alexander, Mackenzie Alexander. For those of you who don't know exactly who we were referring to, the cornerback that they drafted out of Clemson a couple of years ago, that I'm not a huge fan of because he can't catch the goddamn football. Blake Bortles threw him a direct interception, point blank, right into his hands, and it somehow got to his chest and bounced off of his chest plate. The guy can't catch, period. But they say he's getting better, so we will see. Emperor Meat says Packers 10-6, Vikings 9-7, Lions 8-8, Bears 6-10. So he's got the Packers winning the division as well, and the Vikings taking a massive step back. Remember, the Vikings were 13-3 last year. He's got them taking a massive step back to single digits at 9-7. Emperor Meat says, "I'm not buying the Mitchell Trubisky hype. Many, including your boy MJ at Sports Fan Entertainment, got them going 9-7. It's still the Bears, people. I'm not buying what they're selling either. I think they're going to be a lot better, but I don't think they're going to be that much better in the win column. I think they're going to be a much better team. We're going to see it on the field, but it's not going to manifest itself to wins right away. I just don't see them taking that step, that great of a step in year one of a new head coach. A young football team with a bunch of moving parts, a lot of young guys trying to find their way in this league. I think they're going to be a very pesky and dangerous team, but they're not going to win at the end of ball games, which separates a 9-7 team from a 6-10 team. And that's where I think the disconnect is between MJ's 9-7 and my 6-10 for the Bears. Long Meat Pause says Vikings 13-3, Bears 10-6, Packers 9-7, Lions 6-10. So he's got the Bears going double-digit wins, doubling their win total from a season ago, from 5-11 to 10-6. That is a huge jump up for the Bears, and the Packers not even hitting double digits. I don't know the last time Aaron Rodgers was healthy and the Packers didn't win double-digit games. So we'll have to see about that. Double A says, "Not so much that I dislike Carry-On isn't horrible, but he got drafted by the Kittens. No one wins the toilet, especially running backs." And he also says, "Stat Padford is overhyped." He's talking about Matthew Stafford. Where do y'all get these names from, man? Stephen Evans says, "Packers are a bit overrated. Unlikely that their defense will be much better. It'll take a couple of years for them to gel under a new defensive coordinator." Finally got a guy that a lot of Packers fans wanted out of there, and Dom Capers out of the building. And we'll see what they're able to do with their new defensive coordinator this year. We'll see. Stephen M. also says, "Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is really good, but it takes 11 guys. The only time Rodgers won a Super Bowl, they had a stout defense." We're going to see. This defense could be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I still want to know where they're going to get pressure from, but I think Daniels is a stud. If they can get anything out of Muhammad Wilkerson, get him back to where he was, say, 3 years ago with the Jets, where he was like a double-digit sack guy, they could be dangerous up the middle. And then that will give some of those edge rushers a shorter corner to have to turn. And all of a sudden now, it could be a lot different in Green Bay. We will see. RFW 1984 says, Viking season hinders on the offensive line. He's basically saying that offensive line is going to be the thing that either helps the Vikings win, or it's the thing that stops them from being the team that went 13-3 a season ago and got to the NFC Championship game. Matthew Feevish says, "The Lions roster smells like 8-8. It looks like 8-8. They're going 7-9. Hey, go ahead. Matthew Fevish also says, the Bears remind me a lot of the 2016 Eagles. Young quarterback that has a lot to prove, promising defense, but they get almost everybody back in 2019. 2019 is the year for Chicago, not 2018. So he says they're a year early. This isn't the year that they make noise. That will come next year in Chicago for the Bears. So that is all. No more comments, no more heat on YouTube. There is nothing on Twitter, no more calls. So that's going to do it for the NFC North season preview and prediction show. A lot of great takes, a lot of great calls tonight. There is no consensus. I think there is a feeling that the Vikings can win the division. There's a feeling that the Packers can win the division. There are a couple of smatters out there, a couple of sprinkles in there of people thinking the Lions can do some damage. But for the most part, people have the Lions competitive in this division, but not winning this division. Then you have a couple of people that think the Bears have a legitimate shot at making the postseason and winning some games and winning double-digit games. And so a lot of different opinions on this division, but the prevailing thought is it's either going to be Green Bay or it's going to be Minnesota. I think that is going to be the case. It's going to be one of those two teams. I don't think this division is going to be as good as it was last year or have a team be as good as it was last year out of this division like the Vikings were. Vikings, remember, were a game away from the #1 seed in the NFC going 13-3 last year. I don't think any team in this division is winning anywhere north of 12 games. I don't even think anyone is winning more than 11. I've got both the Vikings and the Packers at 11-5. I think that's as high as anybody goes in this division. As far as the floor is concerned, I don't see anybody in this division losing more than 10 games, and that's the Bears at 6-10. I don't see anybody going 5-11, 4-12, 13 or 3-13 or any of that. And I could easily see the Bears winning 7, 8 games. I don't see them winning 9, however. That's too big of a leap for me with this roster, as young as it is, with a young head coach in his first year. Sure, they could be the Rams, but guess what? The Rams played in a bad division last year that allowed them to go 11-5 and win their division. That's not what this division is. In order to make the kind of leap that some people have the Bears making at 10-6, 9-7, in order to make a leap like that, you've got to play in a division that's going to allow you to win games in the division. You can't win 9 games and go 1-5 in your division. They're not winning more than 2 games in this division, max, okay? They might sneak the Vikings. They might sneak the Bears. They might sneak the Packers. They're not sneaking all of those teams. They might get 2 of those teams once. They're not sneaking all of those teams, though. So we'll see what happens. But in any event, man, you guys are great. Thank you for joining me tonight. Make sure you like the video, share it, subscribe to the Louie Tee Network if you haven't already done so. Also, make sure that you check out the podcast, Louie Tee Network Podcast, and stay tuned. I've got another breakdown coming, AFC North, coming your way at the 9 o'clock hour. So I will see you guys back for that one. And also have some updates coming to the channel, so stay tuned for that. I know I've been promising those for the last 2 or 3 days, but it's coming, trust me. So stay tuned for those as well. I'm your man, Louie Tee, signing off. Remember, we're changing the game, 1 live video at a time. I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
Louie Tee.